Hi guys, welcome to this Facebook Live. We are back to giving our viewers and all our followers on Facebook a quick update on the markets and talk markets really, answer your questions on sectors, not stocks, and perhaps give you as much perspective as possible that we've gathered through the day on the market's direction from here. On the sidelines, I just also want to add to all our followers that it's our 9th anniversary right here on ET Now, and we've had a great journey, a great 9-year journey. Thanks to all of you. It's only thanks to all of you that we've made it this far, and I'm very confident that in the future as well we would have your support, whether it's with our coverage, whether it's with tracking the markets, 360 degree really, you'll be with us every step of the way into the future as well. And having said that, I just want to say that today the markets were not bad at all, sideways. Most of Asia was shut, so we didn't get any cues, so to speak, to follow up on, but it was a good session for the markets. Individually, there was a lot of stock-specific action in trade. For all of those followers who've been asking me every single day what's happening with pharma, well, I can share with you some good news. Every fundamental guest who's been on the channel over the course of the last few weeks has spoken about how they believe pharma is a turnaround story. Things are looking up for the pharmaceutical space. Whether it's Sun Pharma's Halol facility, whether you're seeing some good news streaming on Lupin. Dr. Reddy just got Suboxone clearance, even though the US court has put a restraining order on that. It just seems like the news flow is quite positive. We heard from the Biocon management as well that things are looking up for their business. So really, all in all, I can tell you that every fundamental analyst we've spoken with believes that case by case there is reason to look at pharmaceuticals as a sector. You should be watching ET Now. Please watch us tomorrow as well between 8 to 11 when we'll be talking about how pharmaceuticals as a sector is perhaps turning a new page and getting into a new zone. 18 months of underperformance can be questioned on whether or not we hit a bottom and a turnaround is in the works. I'll give you an example. Last week, just look at the 7-day chart for Sun Pharma, for Lupin, for Dr. Reddy's, for Cipla, all of the index pharma, not even mid-cap pharma, not even asking you to go into the large cap names which are in the broader universe like Cadila. I'm just saying, just look at the index pharma stocks. Average gains are 20%. Did you even realize that? So, that's telling you something. Technically and fundamentally, things are changing. Be mindful of that move is all I can say. I'm not talking about stocks there. I'm just giving you a broad overview on the sector. Things could be turning around, and that's something that you need to look out for. We have a question from Sushen. Now, where is the Nifty heading? I wish I knew, Sushen. Nobody knows in this market because it's a very sideways sort of a market. It's a quiet June. It's also an extended summer overseas, so I don't think trading volumes will be at their best. But it's, be mindful of the fact that, things are in a bit of a limbo. You have rates going up globally, so the cost of capital is going to increase. How that would impact the markets, one has to wait and watch to assess. Typically in the first part of the rate tightening cycle, the markets are very buoyant, as we saw in 2006, right? Just before the crash, we saw the markets really build up. And once rates got really expensive and cost of capital got really expensive, which was at about 5% for US Treasury yields, and I think the benchmark rate for the Fed funds at that time was 5%, 5.5%. I think it bordered 6%. That's when the tipping point was reached, and the market saw a complete U-turn. In fact, fell off a cliff, so to speak. I mean, everybody knows what happened in 2006, 2007. So if you to mirror that with what's happening in the markets right now, we're only at the beginning of the rate tightening cycle. We have to give the markets about 12 months to 18 months, historically speaking, to assess where the markets will go from here. I'm not indicating anything. I'm just saying, look at where interest rates are, where we are in that rate tightening cycle, not just in India, globally. Map it with what typically equity markets do when rates start going up, and you will get a sense of how we are positioned right now. That's all I'm trying to indicate. Okay. Bhavin is asking about Idea. Bhavin is also asking about Bank of Baroda shares. Can't talk stocks. I can only say that telecom as a space, Jio is doing stuff to disrupt the market. But what's interesting is neither Idea nor Bharti nor Vodafone have lost any market share. So yes, there's been a compromise in profitability. The per subscriber addition comes in at a cost to profitability for all of these businesses. RelGeo, of course, leading that disruption. But you haven't really seen a disruption in market share. But also remember, India is a country of numbers. Given our population of almost 130 crore people, there is a lot of penetration required. For the people who already own a mobile phone, they perhaps think of owning two. For the people who are not still accustomed to owning a mobile phone or having a data plan or spending a lot of time on the internet on their phones, that migration is yet to happen. So it's a story of penetration and it's a story of market share. And I think the numbers suggest that right now nobody's lost market share. Yes, Jio is at 20%, but there's been some momentum in the market share, a few basis points addition for Bharti and again Vodafone as well. It's an interesting story, but we'll have to see how things pan out into the future. But definitely, if you would look at India as a consumption theme, telecom could also be a quasi-consumption theme, so to speak. In fact, a direct consumption theme, because we are consuming more data than anything else. Perhaps more data than vegetables on every single day. So be mindful of that trend. Vikram Lodha is asking about L&T. Vikram, I don't know whether you saw our closing trades, which came between 2 to 4. Do watch that. We had Ajay Srivastava this afternoon talking about how he thinks L&T could be a turnaround story. He believes L&T and ITC both are turnaround stories. That in the profit cycle, things are likely to bottom out. It hasn't really captured the turn in the investment cycle just as yet, and being a bellwether name, being a leader in the construction and the engineering space, L&T is interestingly positioned. Again, I can't talk stocks, but this is what Ajay Srivastava had to say on the channel. You can go back to our show reel and just hear out what his view on L&T and ITC were earlier in the session. Also, you can follow our Twitter feed, ET Now Live, and you will get all the big voices that spoke about investment ideas all through the session today. Nasser is asking about energy. For energy, I think the big story is the OPEC meet. We just heard the oil minister also talking about how they need to raise output so their prices come down, because for oil importing countries, it's a real pain, especially countries like India and Turkey. Whether that happens or not, but it will have a direct bearing on oil and gas companies. So you have the OMCs, HPCL, BPCL, IOC, which will be under pressure, and you will also see how airline companies will come under pressure, because I think close to 40-50% of their raw material is really air turbine fuel. So if ATF prices go up, then that's a problem for them. We'll also look at ONGC, Oil India, be affected, because if OMCs can't pass on the entire burden to the end consumer, that is you and me, we've already seen how the retail price hike story has been pinching our pockets. And then we'll go back to the erstwhile regime of sharing subsidies and the underpricing. So all of that may put a burden on ONGC and Oil India. Remember, the government has said nothing to that effect. They very much believe that deregulation is the way forward, and all their communications, official communications, have been that if there's a rise in prices, then that will be passed on. But beyond a certain point, we know that it's a very dear commodity, and consumers are very price sensitive when it comes to fuel prices. So we'll have to see how the fine balance is struck, but it's a sensitive issue, and I think that's why the oil minister is watching out for the OPEC meet also very closely to assess where things stand as of now. Very quickly, Deepak is asking about why TCS is correcting after initial surge, the buyback news. Will it correct further? Deepak, I think the run-up in TCS has been very strong, and I think before the buyback also it was very strong. Again, I can't talk stock specific. I think the broad theme with IT right now is that the currency is favoring them, the deal environment is favoring them. TCS has come out with a good buyback, a tax efficient way of paying back shareholders. 2100 has been the price laid out, which is at a 15% premium. I think largely the market gives a thumbs up to the issue. One is also seeing it as the management's endorsement that they are very confident about the growth prospects of the business. So all in all, I think the news flow has been positive. Sell-off in the stock would have been related to technical issues, market environment. I'm not going to get into that. But all I can say is that TCS represents what the IT industry is facing as a whole. And I think there are green shoots of recovery there, which is why IT has outperformed the market from the start of the year to now. Look at any chart, look at any IT company from the start of the year, and I'm talking about mostly because I haven't seen all the charts, but I've seen TCS, I've seen Infosys, I've seen the index IT firms, their charts, Jan to now. That'll give you a sense how upbeat the market is about the IT sector. I'm not talking on TCS. TCS, of course, all I can say is the news flow has been positive, the management comments have been positive. And I think in line with what they did on their buyback proposal last year, they have pretty much ensured that they give a fair deal to investors with that 15% premium on the buyback price this year as well. Guys, I'm completely out of time. I would have loved to answer all your questions, but I just can't. We will, of course, come back tomorrow. I'll be here tomorrow again at 4 p.m. To give you more perspective on the markets and individual sectors. I'd love if you could ask me more questions on sectors and stocks per se. I know stocks is the interesting part, but we do a lot of data analysis, trend analysis essentially on various sectors. I read a lot of reports on several sectors. So it'll be great to touch upon what's driving sectors broadly in the market and the broad market. Also global cues and global macros will be some interesting discussion points that we can take up tomorrow. Thanks very much for tuning in, and once again, heartfelt thanks going out to all our viewers, all our followers watching me right now. Thanks so much for your support through our 9-year journey, and we hope that you continue to support us in the future as well. Once again, big thank you to all.